Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is facing a mega $8 billion lawsuit today. So Meta investors say Facebook violated a 2012 agreement with the Federal Trade Commission to protect user data. And you might remember this trial stems from a scandal involving Cambridge Analytica. That was a political consulting firm which worked for Donald Trump's first presidential campaign. It was found to have accessed the data of millions of Facebook users. Meta paid about $8 billion in fines and other costs for it, and now the shareholders want that money back. Zuckerberg and the other defendants say the lawsuit is using extreme claims. Joining me now is criminal defense attorney and former New York prosecutor Randy Zelin. Randy, good morning to you. Thanks for hopping on early with me, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So a lot of big names here, a lot of zeros at play here as well. This trial expected to last 8 days. How tough will this case be to prove in court?
Well, certainly from the standpoint of first looking at who's going to be determining the fate of Meta. So a juror. Is a juror going to look at Meta with disdain, or is a juror going to look at Meta from the perspective of, hey, you've changed my life, no different than perhaps a judge, if a judge was sitting as a finder of the fact? What is going to be that base level view of Meta?
But and there is no jury in this trial, so how does that change things?
Well, certainly to the extent that now you don't, as a trial lawyer, have to worry about a juror thinking outside of the box or disregarding the law. Judges are still human beings. And it's not like we can plug electrodes into a judge's brain and determine if the judge is in any way biased, is the judge in any way leaning or having a certain slant for or against Meta. But I do think the bigger takeaway here is, even for a judge, is how does that judge view what Meta has done here? And the moment that a judge thinks that, it's like when we were children, it's one thing to get into trouble. It's another thing to cover it up. So the moment there is any evidence of a cover-up, the moment there is any evidence of trying to point the finger, distract, or send the blame someplace else, then I don't care if it's a trier of the fact of 1 or the trier of the fact of 6 or 12. You're screwed.
And tell me what the plaintiff argument for deserving to be repaid this money is, because I might be missing something here, but is that not part of the deal of being a company shareholder, is riding the roller coaster of financial highs and lows?
Yes, but as a shareholder, you are entitled to a level playing field. You are entitled to transparency. You are entitled to fairness, and you are entitled to not have that company dealing from the bottom of the deck. And that's what this case is all going to boil down to, in my humble opinion. With the advances of technology, as lawyers, we are always going to be pushing the envelope, seeing what we can get away with for our clients. But the moment it goes from creativity and expansion and pushing the boundaries and this notion of manifest destiny from a legal standpoint, I'm going to go out as far west as I can. The moment it changes into a cover-up, the moment it changes into a fraud, into a lie, then it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah. Okay. Copy that. Do you think that we're going to hear testimony from some of the key defendants? Like, is Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, are they going to take the stand here?
Well, it always gets interesting in a civil case. First of all, does the plaintiff call any of the defendants as its own witness in an effort to get that evidence out? And then, of course, from a civil standpoint, since the burden of proof is very different, in a civil case, it's literally like taking the scale and tipping it from 50-50 to 51-49. So it does become far more important for a defendant to put on a case, for a defendant to tell his or her side of the story, than it is in a criminal case where the burden of proof rests solely on the government. And a defendant can sit there and read the New York Times, and a jury or a judge cannot hold that against the defendant.
Well, Randy Zelin, I got to end it there, but we'll see what day one has in store for this trial, and we'll debrief with you here again soon, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.